Tonight on CFTK-TV, a dust advisory hits communities in the Northwest, the future on different industries during an ongoing trade war, and how residents reacted to the earthquake on the South Coast.
Northwest BC's only television news team. We are CFTK-TV News.
Hello, I'm Damian Smith, and thank you for joining us here on CFTK-TV. We begin today with the talk of the country, and that is about the now official trade war between Canada and the United States, with U.S. President Donald Trump announcing yesterday that tariffs will be implemented on all Canadian products. Here's what Prime Minister Trudeau had to say over in Ottawa today.
Now I want to speak directly to one specific American, Donald. In the over 8 years you and I have worked together, we've done big things. We signed a historic deal that has created record jobs and growth in both of our countries. We've done big things together on the world stage, as Canada and the US have done together for decades, for generations. And now we should be working together to ensure even greater prosperity for North Americans in a very uncertain and challenging world. Now, it's not in my habit to agree with the Wall Street Journal, but Donald, they point out that even though you're a very smart guy, this is a very dumb thing to do. We two friends fighting is exactly what our opponents around the world want to see.
And here in British Columbia, re-elected Premier David Eby also spoke today, speaking on a few changes that are to come for American products in British Columbia.
We didn't ask for this fight that the President has brought to Canada and to British Columbia, but I'll tell you this, we're not going to shrink from it. The President wants to hurt Canadians, if he wants to hurt British Columbians, then we have no choice but to respond in kind to the United States. Effective immediately, our liquor stores will be pulling all red state liquor products off of the shelf. This is a deliberate decision to target red state liquor products. There's a bit of a message in it. We understand who's attacking us.
And Trump is expected to vow to match Canada's retaliatory tariffs immediately, as it appears as we are only in Chapter 1 of this ongoing story. Now back to local news here in the Northwest. Earlier this morning, BC's Ministry of Environment and Parks issued several dust advisories for a few BC communities in the Northwest. There were communities that fell under these advisories, those being Smithers, Houston, and then Burns Lake, with all the advisories arriving at around the same time. Each community was given an advisory for essentially the same reasons, because concentrations of coarse particulate matter showed up in each of those places, and then they are expected to persist at least until the weather in those areas sees some kind of change in precipitation. People with medical issues like asthma are advised to avoid straining physical activity while the advisories are in place, and anyone looking for more immediate updates on air quality can check out the air quality portion of the BC government's website. The local RCMP detachment in Terrace has put out an article on their website detailing some of the incidents that they dealt with during the last week of February. One incident saw officers stop a vehicle with 4 occupants that was going over 45 kilometers per hour over the speed limit, and when the officers conducted an impaired investigation, the driver of the vehicle ended up failing it. As a result of the failed test and massive breaking of the speed limit, the driver was given a 90-day driving prohibition, 30-day vehicle impoundment, a ticket for violating the speed limit, as well as 2 counts of driving contrary to restrictions. Another part of the report mentioned that a residential fire took place in the Usk area, although no one was injured by it, luckily. And as the weather has become warmer, more people in Terrace have got out to enjoy the nice spurt outside However, one park in the area wasn't prepared for the influx of people. Here's Jaylene Matthews of CFTK-TV.
The second beautiful day in a row and a park full of people. Two surefire signs that spring is coming. But some park goers were facing challenges as both the bathrooms at George Little Park remained locked. The further washrooms located near the farmers market also remained locked. The city spent $395,000 of grants and funds last year on installing the George Little Park expansion, which included the new bathrooms located next to the park. CFTK News witnessed at least 4 people try to use the bathroom in the 45 minutes we were at the park. A new sign says the park is open from 6 a.m. to 11 p.m. We reached out to the city asking why the bathrooms weren't open on such a busy day. They responded that it's seasonal and will provide more details soon. For CFTK-TV News in Terrace, I'm Jaylene Matthews.
After dealing with a 3-month or so saga of not being able to consume their water normally, the long-term boil water notice in the city of Prince Rupert was finally lifted recently. The notice was initially issued back in late November of last year, and it was put into place as a result of a power failure that occurred at Prince Rupert's remote treatment plant. Although the lifting of the notice saw the city have to meet several conditions, such as the restoring of the power failure, obtaining good water quality testing results, as well as fixing the pipe area that could have led to stagnant water entering the main supply. Northern Health has confirmed that everything was all good and that the city thanked everyone for their patience as well. And the City of Prince Rupert's RCMP-based Victim Services Department are also set to host a pair of events in the near future on the same day. The events are a pair of information sessions that will take place on March 11th at the Highliner Hotel and Conference Center. The subject of the first session will be domestic violence and will begin at 12 in the afternoon. And the second session will cover youth online safety, and its start time is at 7 in the evening. Coming up next, how residents on Vancouver Island reacted to the recent earthquake. Welcome back to CFTK TV. Well, with the 4.5 magnitude earthquake that hit the south coast near Sydney just yesterday, experts are saying that this is not something to worry about, with BC having 2 earthquakes in the last 2 weeks. Anna McMillan from CTV has more on this story.
It's around 5 a.m. when people in Duncan are shaken from sleep.
It was a good shake. I didn't really hear windows rattling or anything like that, but I really did feel it move for sure.
Thousands of people on Vancouver Island and the mainland felt a 4.1 magnitude earthquake.
So I've got an earthquake kit that is under all of our desks at City Hall.
That's Duncan's mayor.
I thought it was just kind of part of, what I was dreaming. And then all of a sudden it got a lot louder and it started to shake a lot more.
There are no reports of damage linked to the quake, which struck 42 kilometers east of Sydney, 17 kilometers below the surface.
We don't know what will happen or when it will happen, and the best we can do is be prepared.
This follows a 4.7 magnitude earthquake near Seashelt on February 21st and a 3.8 near Victoria on February 13th.
We have some emergency canned food and that type of thing, water set aside, but I'm feeling we should probably stock up.
An earth sciences professor says it's uncommon to feel 3 earthquakes back to back, but he doesn't think it's something to worry about.
We are in a tectonically active area, and so therefore we do feel earthquakes. A lot of times there's earthquakes happen every day, but most of them are small.
If you felt it, but your buddy down the block didn't.
There's some certain nuances about exactly where you live and what kind of sediment or rock your house is built upon that can increase the shaking that you feel.
BC's emergency preparedness minister says the quake wasn't big enough to trigger an early warning alert.
The magnitude needs to be significantly higher for earthquakes.
Typically around 5, which is when we'd start to see damage.
We can expect that there would be a big one at some point. On a geological scale, that could be tomorrow or 100 years from now. But the most important thing is to be prepared.
That means knowing to drop, cover, and hold on, and having an emergency plan and kit like Duncan's mayor. Anna McMillan, CTV News, Duncan.
And now we move on to your local weather forecast for tonight and for the week ahead. On the north coast, expect some cloudy conditions with a 60% chance of showers with winds coming from the southeast at 30 kilometers per hour, increasing to 60 over the coastal sections with a low of +5. This week should see some sun tomorrow with double digits, and this warm week continues on, but then back to basics for the rest of the week with a cloudy day tomorrow and rain for the next few days. The high will be 10 degrees tomorrow and the low will be 1 degree tomorrow night as well. Tonight in Terrace and Kitimat, we'll see cloudy conditions with a few showers starting before the evening time. Winds should be coming from the north at 20 kilometers per hour, eventually dying down later in the evening, and the low should be +1. And for this week's forecast, it will have an extra day of sun on Thursday, then the rain will start to trickle in back on Friday. There could be some snow on Thursday and Saturday as well. And the high will be 9 degrees tomorrow, while the low will be 0 degrees on Saturday night. For tonight in the Bulkley Valley, it should be cloudy with a 30% chance of flurries overnight with a low of -3. And for this week, there should be a couple more days of sun with a good chance of flurries on Friday, as well as a chance of flurries on Thursday and Friday night. And now we take a look at your roadside report from around the Northwest. For additional updates, check out drybc.ca. Highway 16 has utility work east of Prince Rupert, fog patches from Skeena to Doughty, and debris with fallen ice west of X2, as well as utility work west of Endako. Highway 37 has fog patches, compact snow, and bridge maintenance, as well as water pooling and compact snow north of Bell 2. Highway 37A has compact snow and bridge maintenance. The Nishka Highway has fog patches and debris on the roadway, and Telegraph Creek Road has compact snow and muddy sections. And these are what the cameras were looking like from around the Northwest. Still to come, how cities on the Canada and U.S. border are reacting to the ongoing trade war. Hello again. Well, we continue our talks with tariffs with a bulk of Canadians who have to question the future of their own careers as places in BC that are in the manufacturing business will be hit hard from this development. Here is Craig Krause of CTV News with more.
The continent is tipping into a trade war.
No room left for Mexico or for Canada.
U.S. President Donald Trump says the Americans will hit the two countries with a 25% tariff across the board starting Tuesday, sending Ottawa into a frenzy as it braces for impact.
I've said it to you many, many times. There's a level of unpredictability and chaos that comes out of the Oval Office, and we will be dealing with it.
The tariffs were hinged on preventing the illegal flow of people and drugs across borders, something Canada has attempted to solve, but in the eyes of the Oval Office, it appears it wasn't enough, and time has run out. Businesses north of the border, like Cancore and Surrey, now have their livelihood hanging in the balance.
We are looking at immediately in the first month, 500,000 negative cash flow. We can maximum survive 2 months like that.
65% of their cardboard manufactured is sent south of the border, an uneasy feeling that's not unfamiliar.
We know that he's known for backtracking.
It was just 1 month ago that the hefty tariffs were supposed to be implemented.
We have seen this movie before. We have seen a decision being announced and then it being changing the next day.
But what if history doesn't repeat itself?
You'll hear from the federal government first about what's happening nationally, and then at that point, we'll share what provincially we will do above and beyond that.
A Team Canada approach with Ontario already waging threats.
Cut off their energy with a smile on my face.
Potentially leaving 1.5 million American homes and businesses in the dark.
I'll fight tooth and nail. I'm not going to roll over and get annihilated. I'll fight right to the death. Not that there's going to be any deaths.
And if President Trump does follow through on his tariff threats, Ottawa said Monday night that it'll hit the U.S. immediately with tariffs on $30 billion of American goods and then more tariffs on $125 billion 3 weeks later. Now all eyes are on Washington to see what happens next. Craig Crowe, CTV News, Vancouver.
And moving over east in Windsor, Ontario, which is one of the largest trading areas in Canada, those on the border are seeing the impact firsthand in the areas that they work in, especially in the automotive industry, which is a sector that Trump has largely emphasized on prioritizing when it comes to creating American goods. CTV's Heather Wright has more.
At 3 p.m., the shift changes at the Stellantis plant in Windsor, Ontario. Workers head home while others clock in. The factory has been making Chrysler vehicles since 1928, but many now worry about its future.
So it's scary as an auto worker. It's part of the emotional roller coaster of being an auto worker.
Jay Mercier has been working here for 25 years and says a 25% tariff would not only be devastating to the auto industry, but to his family as well.
It weighs on all of us. My wife also works here too, so it's all our eggs are in this basket.
Windsor is one of the most trade-dependent cities in Canada, with nearly $10 billion worth of motor vehicle exports a year, another $4.5 billion in auto parts, and nearly $4 billion in agricultural products from local farms. Tens of thousands of jobs in Windsor are at risk, along with thousands more across the country. The CEO of the Windsor Essex Chamber of Commerce says tariffs will cause pain on both sides of the border.
Knowing how integrated our two economies are and speaking to the businesses of our community, this doesn't make economic sense. This is going to hurt both of us. It's going to hurt Canada. It's going to hurt the United States.
And workers in the U.S. are worried as well.
It means dramatically increased costs that we might not be able to recover.
Auto parts crossed the border between Windsor and Detroit multiple times during the manufacturing process. And Donald Trump has said tariffs would be applied for each crossing. The U.S. president wants cars to be made solely in America, a proposition that can't be realized overnight.
It's a 2-year lead time. What happens in that 2 years? Like absolute casualties of the economy.
And so workers here at Stellantis wait and worry.
I've been here 31 years, and it's the first time we've really been looking at this type of damage to our industry.
The uncertainty of what happens next looms large here in Windsor and right across the Canadian auto industry. Many companies had been investing in assembly plants and hiring new workers. The future now, though, very much up in the air.
And now we turn our attention to the stock market, where we have an increase in the Canadian dollar and another drop in the index categories today. The Canadian dollar is up 15/10 of a cent. The price of gold is up $27.10. Oil is down 30 cents. Natural gas is up 18 cents, and aluminum is down $14. In Toronto, the TSX is down 429.57 points. The Venture Index is down 1.17. In New York, the Dow Jones is down 670.25, and NASDAQ is down 65.03. Still ahead, how a man lost hundreds of dollars through a crypto scam. Welcome back to our final segment. Well, one man was browsing on Facebook one day when he stumbled upon an opportunity to invest in cryptocurrency, and little did he know that his life would turn the wrong way, ending up in a huge loss to his financial means. Pat Foran from CTV News has this story.
That night is when I realized it was all a big scam. Like, it was very devastating.
Claude Lazon of Edmonton says it was in 2021 when he clicked on an ad on Facebook. Someone called him and said he could make money investing in cryptocurrencies. He started off with small amounts, but eventually invested his life savings.
We need to make sure you don't get charged for money laundering, so you need to give us $200,000 right away, and that's what ended up happening. I cashed out my RSPs to do that.
Lazon was scammed out of $500,000.
It pretty well ruined my life.
According to the Better Business Bureau, when it comes to the riskiest scams in Canada, the investment cryptocurrency scam is in first place. 45% of investment scams involve cryptocurrency. The top platforms where victims are introduced to the fraud are Facebook, followed by Instagram, WhatsApp, and TikTok. Criminals are using fake Elon Musk videos that have been altered with artificial intelligence to make it look like he's promoting crypto investments. There are also fake videos of Prime Minister Trudeau that have also been manipulated with AI.
We have developed an investment platform that we believe can help every Canadian safeguard their financial future.
Hope is coming. We're trying hard. Don't give up.
Cybercrime Victim Services is a website with resources to help those who have lost money to crypto fraud. It's working with U.S. officials to try and track down stolen funds and may be able to get a portion of Lausanne's money back.
We have the 3-step process, which is a freeze, then you seize, then you return it. A lot of people don't believe that crypto can be returned, but it can. You just have to follow a lot of the steps to do so.
Retrieving stolen crypto funds may be possible, but there are no guarantees. Lausanne says he wishes he never clicked on the ad on Facebook.
Unfortunately, I lost all my money. It's very devastating for me and my family.
Pat Foran, CTV News.
In Ontario, a man was devastated by the loss of a valuable ring which was left behind in the Dominican Republic on one of his trips, which held lots of core memories from his service in the police force. But somehow the ring ended up on his hand by the help of a Good Samaritan. Kimberly Johnson from CTV has our final story of the day.
Ian McFarlane's career in the Ottawa Police Service means everything to him.
Fantastic career.
The retired police officer worked from cadet to major crimes during his tenure. When he marked 25 years in the service in 2000, he received a ring from the Ottawa Police Association.
I met my whole life. It was my career. That's the sense of accomplishment and all the people that I've worked with and for.
But when he took a trip to Punta Cana, Dominican Republic this January, suddenly it went missing at the beach.
And I thought, oh no, don't tell me. So searched high and low when I was shaking my hands. I looked around, I couldn't find it around there. I'll never see it again, especially on a beach where there's a million grains of sand and everything else. It was just devastating.
But he would be reunited, wearing it here today thanks to a Good Samaritan, a woman from Pennsylvania he's never met.
They kicked at what they thought was some kind of a ring or a bottle cap or whatever like that. And she realized it's not a bottle cap, it's a ring.
He says she brought it back to Pennsylvania, feeling it was important to someone. There, a jeweler discovered the words McFarlane and OPF on the inside of the ring for Ottawa Police Force. This woman reached out to the Ottawa Police Veterans Association. So the ring was mailed back to Ottawa, in all taking a more than 3,000-kilometer trek and missing just over a month.
What does it mean to have it back on your finger?
Fantastic. No words.
And while he hasn't yet had the chance to meet or speak to the person who performed a miracle for him, he says he's grateful.
Neighbors take care of neighbors. That's basically it. Whether you're from the States or from Canada, it doesn't matter. You're still neighbors.
Kimberly Johnson, CTV News.
That will be all for the cast tonight. We'll be back tomorrow at 5, 6, and 11 o'clock here on CFTK-TV. Thank you very much for watching and have a lovely evening.